It was meant to be the masterpiece of war, a symbol of technical superiority, proof that German engineering could create an invincible machine. But soon, that symbol turned into a nightmare. Crews whispered among themselves, "The Panther doesn't forgive mistakes. It burns faster than it shoots." Some compared it to a predator, others to a cage you couldn't escape alive. So what went wrong? How did a tank designed to be the crown jewel of military thought become a burden? Why did soldiers fear their own machine more than the enemy? Today, we'll uncover how a weapon born from ambition and pride became a symbol of engineering madness. When the first Panthers appeared at Kursk, German officers looked at them with awe. The sloped frontal armor reflected shells like a mirror. The gun could pierce Soviet tanks from distances where they couldn't even shoot back. On paper, it was perfect. But everything that looked brilliant on the blueprint turned into a disaster inside the battlefield.
Mechanics noted the engine purred smoothly until you pressed the throttle. Then the temperature shot up instantly. Inside the hull, heat built up so fast that the crew could barely breathe. The fuel tanks sat dangerously close to the engine, and when things overheated, vapors filled the air, turning the Panther into a steel coffin. The sealed bulkheads, meant for protection, only trapped the heat. Every engine start was a gamble. Would it move, or would it ignite? Crews felt it on their own skin. In the middle of summer, under a blazing sun, the interior became an oven. The driver had to keep the revs high just to move, while the commander shouted orders through sweat and smoke. Every lever pull was a risk. Even the most experienced driver knew, one mistake, and the tank becomes your tomb. And even if the Panther managed to start, more problems followed. Its suspension was a technical marvel, interleaved, complex, chess-like. On test tracks, it provided smooth motion and precise aiming. But on the front lines, it was a curse. Rain and snow jammed the wheels with mud. At night, when temperatures dropped, that mud froze solid. Crews remembered their tanks literally freezing to the ground. To move again, they had to melt the ice with blowtorches or light fires under the tracks.
One story stands out. A rainy autumn night, a forest, mud turning to ice. The Panthers sat motionless, fused with the earth. The driver crawled out, smashing the ice with a crowbar, while the sound of enemy movement grew closer. Every hit of the metal bar was a bet with fate. Too slow, and you're caught. Too fast, and you make noise. If the tiger was the king of the battlefield, the Panther demanded its crew to be a mechanic, an engineer, and an acrobat at once. Driving it was like playing a complex instrument. No steering wheel, just two vertical levers that had to be pulled up and down. One wrong move, and the tank turned in the wrong direction, sometimes straight toward its own lines. To brake, the driver had to drop the clutch, shift to neutral, and pull the lever. In training, such mistakes caused laughter. In combat, they cost lives. The gunner's job was no easier. His eyes, the TZ-F-12 sight, gave a tiny view of the battlefield. To see the enemy, he had to stick out of the turret or rely entirely on the commander's voice.
The turret itself rotated painfully slow. If a target appeared from the flank, the Panther couldn't even turn in time. Early models had a manual transverse. It took a full minute to rotate 360 degrees. A minute during which a T-34 could fire 3 shots.
One crew recalled a battle at Kursk. A Soviet T-34 appeared from the side. The commander shouted orders. The gunner fought the levers. The turret crawled. A ricochet rang off the armor. Sparks, smoke, the smell of burning oil. Every breath felt like the last. Inside, there was no space, no comfort, only heat, noise, and terror. The commander's cupola gave a bit of view, but for the rest of the crew, it was like fighting blind. Even the driver could only see through a narrow slit. Later versions removed the viewing port entirely for better protection. That meant when communication broke down, the crew became prisoners inside their own machine. And then the repairs. To reach the transmission, mechanics had to disassemble half the tank. They joked it was easier to build a new Panther than fix a broken one. Under artillery fire, they tore out floor plates, seats, the radio, the gun mount, just to get to a single part. Every move could be their last. Another crew remembered trying to repair a jammed gearbox under bombardment. Shells fell nearby, every explosion shaking the hull. They worked fast, sweating and gasping, while knowing one hit would turn the whole tank into a furnace.
Still, on paper, the Panther remained the pride of German engineering. Its 75mm gun, with a barrel 70 calibers long, could penetrate almost any armor. It could hit a target at 1.5 kilometers. But what use is a powerful gun when your tank can't move, turn, or stay operational? Soldiers soon realized this wasn't a weapon for war. It was a weapon for parades. Its power only existed as long as everything worked perfectly. But in war, nothing works perfectly. Where the Soviet T-34 powered through mud, the Panther got stuck. Where Soviet mechanics fixed engines in an hour, German ones needed 3 days. Crew stories made it painfully clear. One remembered trying to escape artillery fire when the Panther sank into the mud. They dug by hand, built fires under the tracks, sweating, freezing, praying. Every second was a fight, not against the enemy, but against their own tank.
Another remembered the unbearable heat, air shimmering, fuel vapors rising, hands slipping on burning metal. Each motion, each breath felt like defying death itself. That's why many crews refused to trade their Tigers for Panthers. They knew behind the shining armor hid an enemy made of gears, smoke, and fragile pride. The Panther remained a paradox, brilliant on paper, brutal in reality. It could destroy its foes and itself. And that's its cruelest irony. A tank designed to be the hunter became the symbol of German engineering's self-destruction.